Hello everybody, my name is Jeffrey, and in this tutorial we are going to render our segment to the screen. So, behind the scenes, what happened, I changed our model class just so that I changed it to an abstract class so that we could have multiple types of models. So the VBO, IBO and size are there. I created this integer usage, which is basically that GL static draw. But we are going to use other types of usages as well, so that's why I created this integer. And this is useful because it also requires our subclass, our subclass to call the super method. In here I set the usage this.usage equal to usage, and I created these two methods which basically bound the buffers and buffered an integer buffer and a float buffer. These get methods are still the same, but I added a protected void setSize method so that all our subclasses could call this after they've decided what the size of the model should be. I left the load model method in here just for convenience. I changed the vertex class to an entity vertex class, and I created this entity model class. The entity model class just calls the super method and with a parameter of gl15.gl static draw. The buffer vertices. Oh, what is this? Yes, the buffer vertices method takes in a entity vertex array and a integer array indices, and yeah, it's basically the same. The calc normals method is now in here, and I created this method. It's basically the same, but now it doesn't bind the buffers and everything, but it just puts everything in the buffer, also for the integer buffer, and then it sends it over to the graphics card with these two methods, and after that it sets the size equal to indices.length. So that's what I did behind the scenes. Let's get started by creating our world vertex class. So, world vertex. Our world vertex will keep track of three vectors, so private vector 3f position, private vector 3f color, and private vector 3f normal. We'll import those classes by hitting Ctrl+Shift+O, and we'll create a constructor, so world vertex, and we'll take in those three vectors. Yes, vector 3f pos, vector 3f color, and vector 3f normal. So this.pos equals pos. I accidentally put a semicolon there. And this.color equals color, and this.normal equals normal. Easy. Okay, now we'll create some getters and setters for these. So select all and OK. And before we end, we have to add a size variable, so public static final int size. And the size of this class is equal to 8 because we have three three-dimensional vectors, so 3 times 3 equals 8. And that's it for our world vertex class. So let's create our world model class. So world model, and it's going to extends model. So which means we have to import add a constructor, and that is all that it requires us to do. So over here type gl15, but now instead of typing gl static draw, we're going to do gl dynamic draw, because every time we want to change our models so now and then, because every time you add or remove a tile, we basically want to update the model. We won't be doing it instantly, because that would be, well, yeah, but rather the time that we have between frames, but like my talking isn't very good right now, but if you remember, we added this FPS cap. I've set it back to 120, But basically the time that we have in between frames, which is quite a lot because we were over at 2000 FPS I believe. And that yeah, so and if we only use the 120 FPS, that means we have a lot of time in between each frame, and we can use that time in between each frame to update the world models. So that's when we are going to do it. We'll create a system for doing that later on, but yeah, now we'll just do it manually. But our world model class will create a public void buffer vertices method. But instead of taking in arrays, we'll take in array lists this time, because that's what we're going to use when generating the models. So array list vertex. This is easier because we don't have to convert the array lists to arrays, and yeah. Sorry. I'm back. Okay. Vertices, and we'll take an array list integers of the integer type, integer indices. So import everything. So import the array list and import a world. We should use a world vertex. And let me take a sip of my drink because I have a sore throat currently. Better. So let's buffer our vertices. So float buffer equals buffer utils dot create float buffer, and the capacity will be world vertex dot size times vertices dot size. So import that, and for world vertex in vertices, we want to call buffer.put vertex.getPosition.x. Now copy this line of code 3 times and change this to Y and Z. Now copy these 3 lines and make sure you end up with 9 of them. And here get color, copy this, paste it, and get normal, copy it and paste it. So now buffer.flip, and we'll create our indices buffer. So int buffer ibuffer equals buffer utils dot create int buffer, and the capacity will be indices dot size. No, so like that, and import your int buffer. Then just loop through the indices. So for int I in indices, is that right? Yes. And then ibuffer.put I, and then ibuffer.flip. Hey, we can basically put this in the 3 lines. Up, easy. Now buffer vertices and buffer and buffer indices ibuffer and set size equal to indices dot size. So well, that's our world model class. We're almost running out of time because I don't really want to make tutorials which are longer than 10 minutes. So that was it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial we will probably be generating our what was that? Well, in the next tutorial we are probably going to generate our model. So I hope I see you in the next one. Bye.